A few years ago, one of my management students shared with me that it doesn't really matter what you believe. When you're working in business, you need to do whatever is necessary to make your money. Then you can do good with it later on. Now, what I found disturbing about this wasn't just the fact that the gentleman sharing this perspective with me was a Christian, but also that he was a lay minister of a very popular church in the New York metropolitan area. Certainly, this initiated quite a bit of interesting conversation in our course. But it also brought to light an issue that is a little bit disturbing, not only in the field of leadership, in the field of management, but in churches in general. And it's this idea that we can somehow compartmentalize our lives, that we can separate the spiritual from everything else, that we can take our belief system, set it aside, and somehow within business we're in a separate realm that's insulated against any of these other spiritual things or anything else that could infect that, for lack of a better term. Now, this isn't any new idea. In fact, it's very interesting when we look through the Gospels. We see many examples of Jesus transforming people's lives and changing them. But we don't hear a lot about the people that were in those large groups that came to hear Jesus that maybe didn't have that transformation type experience. We certainly see a lot of examples of many, many crowds of people that gathered to hear Jesus speak. To listen to his teachings, but we only hear a very short or very small amount of people that actually whose lives were transformed and who actually stepped out and did something very different. So again, it's kind of an interesting idea. It's also something that in the 1800s, A.B. Simpson wrote about when he talked about this idea of the human life or the Christian life being a little bit like a ship, and that there were containers or compartments within that ship, and that some people viewed the spiritual as this little compartment within this ship. And Simpson made the argument that when you let the Holy Spirit come in, that it's actually like flooding all of these compartments, that every one of those compartments in your life should be transformed and should be changed. And certainly our belief system, our relationship with God should be affecting every one of these aspects within our lives. So the question I have is, how do we fit our Christianity, for lack of a better way to explain it, into our lives? And the question itself is really rigged, because it shouldn't be how does it fit in our lives, but more of the fact that it should encompass every aspect of our lives. So whether somebody comes right out and says, oh, I'm doing something now, or I'm doing ministry, or whatever other nice word we like to say, our actions should be leading others to understand this. And our behavior should be evidence of this relationship that we have. So the question we have now moving forward is, how do we do this? How do we make this fit? I recall growing up, my mother telling me time and time again that you may be the only Bible anyone ever reads. So how are you living your life? What example do you have for others? And as I've said in some of my other videos, I don't think that's so much about like the things we do and don't do, or whether or not we're following this rule or that rule, or whether or not, oh, somebody drank alcohol, oh no. I think it's a lot more about that relationship and the relationship we have with others, and how are we being reflections of God's love towards others. So that's really all I had for this week, but it was something I thought important enough to share, and I felt led to share this. So hopefully you found some meaning in this and something helpful as we start to look at our lives as being whole individuals and not these individuals that compartmentalize one aspect. Our politics cannot be separate. Our business dealings cannot be separate. How we treat our family, how we deal with relationships with our neighbors cannot be separate. They're all part of who we are, and God should be reflected in all of those things.